Good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America in Washington. This is Live Talk. I am Gibbs Dube.
And I'm Marvelous Mthwakazi, broadcasting from my home in Washington, D.C.
Tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about COVID-19 and other issues.
According to the Ministry of Health, more than 520,000 Zimbabweans, which is over 500,000, have received their first dose of various vaccines being used in the country.
The vaccines include Sinopharm, which was approved for emergency use last Friday by the World Health Organization.
The ministry reports that 158,177 people have received their second COVID-19 vaccine doses in Zimbabwe. Nearly 40,000 people have contracted COVID-19 in the country since last year in March.
At least 36,000 people who had COVID-19 have survived, while 1,576 succumbed to the disease in Zimbabwe.
And here in America, according to Johns Hopkins Hospital reports, they are saying that about 160 million people have contracted COVID-19 worldwide. There are over 3.2 million people who have succumbed to the disease worldwide.
In other news, President Emmerson Mthwakazi today attended the official opening of the Kazungula Bridge. Botswana President Mthwakazi Masisi and Zambian President Edgar Lungu of Zambia, of course, were the hosts of the event. The bridge will serve as a highway for transporters and travelers from South Africa to the rest of the African continent.
Meanwhile, in politics, Zanu PF reports that some members of the MDC Alliance and the Mthwakazi Republic Party are joining the ruling party in large numbers ahead of the 2023 general election. One of the people who defected from the military Mthwakazi Republic Party is Secretary General Akim Mhlanga.
Yebo kambe Zuluwanda balinjani lapha likhona ngapho ke endaweni ezitshiyeneyo. Namhlanje ke ku Live Talk sikhuluma ngokutshiyeneyo. Ukuqala sikhuluma ngakho i-COVID-19 siyabona ukuthi umkhuhlane lo uyamemetheka kwele Zimbabwe njalo kulabantu asebehlatshwe okokuqala iJackson ezitshiyeneyo. Enye yakhona iSinopharm esanda kuvunyelwa ukuthi isetshenziswe i-World Health Organization. So manje ke sekulabantu abedlula 520,000 asebehlatshwe okokuqala kwele Zimbabwe. Kuthi ke abafika khonapho ke inombolo engani phezulu lapho nje hayikhona kakhulu kodwa engani ithe qaqambishana labo sebehlatshwe kwesibili. Abahlatshwe kwesibili ungazani ama-figures angikhona angana phansi, so abantu bathi kuyamangalisa. Singathi ke bayi-158,177 abantu asebehlatshwe okwesibili. So nxa sikhangela ke abantu abafika phose 40,000 sebabanjwa igciwane le-COVID-19. Wathi ke nxa sikhangela okunye abayi-36,000 ngabantu asebaphepha kumkhuhlane we-COVID-19. Kuthi ke aba-1,576 sebabulawa yi-COVID-19. I-Johns Hopkins University iyabika khona manje ukuthi kulabantu abedlula 160 million asebebanjwa i-COVID-19 emhlabeni wonke jikelele. Iphinde ibika njalo ukuthi kulabantu abafika 3.2 million ngabantu ke asebabulawa umkhuhlane lo. Kokunye nje kolunye udaba olusanda kwenzakala, uPresident Emmerson Mnangagwa namhla kade khona ngale ke eKazungula lapho kade kulungiswa khona kumbe ngithi kuvula okusemthethweni ibholoholo leli. So ibholoholo leli lizakwenza ukuthi abantu basuke eSouth Africa badlule khona ngale eZambia baphezulu khona ngale kwezinye indawo ze-Africa bengadlulanga eZimbabwe. So ke khonokho nje ukuthi kuyayenzakala kuthi ukuthi iZimbabwe ilakho ukuthi ilahlekelwa ibhizinisi enengi okunye okumangalisayo. Okunye njalo siyabona ukuthi kulabantu abaphuma kumabandla atshiyeneyo. Namhlanje ke sibonile umnumzana Akim Mhlanga webandla le-MRP kumbe ngithi Mthwakazi Republic Party esuka kubandla leli wangena ke kubandla leZanu PF. Ukhona njalo omunye akade hamba laye khonapho eze asuke. So ke kukhanya ngazani kulakho khonokho ukuthi abantu bayasuka kubandla leli kwamabandla atshiyeneyo besiya kubandla leZanu PF. So kunjalo ke Marvelous.
Aiwa kunavo vachangobva kupinda muchirongwa chedu pano paLive Talk nhasi nemusi wemuvhuro May 10 tichange tiri kukupai zvakasiyana-siyana. Tine gango chatanga tiri kutarisa isu nyaya yedenda rechirwere cheCovid-19 uyezve tichitarisa nyaya yenhomba dziri kubayiwa vanhu munyika. tozowanikwa isu tichienda kunotarisa zviri kuitika mune zvematongerwo enyika, apo nhasi taona mutungamiri wenyika vaEmmerson Mnangagwa vachienda ivo kukazungula border post uko kwawanikwa kuchiitwa mhembero yekuvhurwa kwebridge hombe riri ikoko, uyezve vanga vari nevamwewo vatungamiri vekuzambia nevekubotswana. Bridge iri rinonzi iro rakavakwa neBotswana neZambia, asi taona vatungamiri venyika yakadai seZimbabwe vachiendawo ikoko muzuva ranhasi. Saka ndo zvimwe zvatichange tiri kutarisa, chitarisa zvakare zviri kubuda kubva kubazi rezveutano riri kutaura iro kuti vanhu vakawanda vanosvika vanodaudzira 520,000 vawanikwa ivo vachibayiwa nhomba yeCovid-19, nhomba dzakasiyana-siyana dziri kubayiwa munyika. Tichitarisawo zvakare kuti bazi reWorld Health Organization takaona richiwanikwa iro richiti Zimbabwe inokwanisa kuenderera mberi ichibaya nhomba yeSinopharm asi ichishandiswa munguva iyo kana zvinhu zvisina kumira zvakanaka yavanoti emergency. Saka ndo zvimwe zviri kubuda pari zvino, uyezve tichange tiri kuzeya nevanyarikani vedu kuti zvii zvavari kutarisana nazvo panguva ino yeCovid-19, uyezve tichitarisawo tichida kunzwa kuti inhomba dzipi dziri kubayiwa nevazhinji vakawanda pari zvino. Gibbs.
Yes, I think we've got our first guest, and that is Mr. David Siampondo, is here in USA. Welcome to the program, sir.
Welcome, Mukoma Gibbs. How are you doing?
No, I'm very fine. So how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, so tell us about your experience with COVID-19. So what has been going on, and just adjust your camera so that we can see your whole face. So how have things been going on your side?
With regards to COVID-19, here in Minnesota, I think we are doing quite fine. And the progress in terms of the inoculation has been good, and our governor, this side where I am, released an update. I think it was on this past Wednesday of last week, giving us an update in terms of the change in terms with regards to restrictions. Also updating in terms of the number of people who have received their vaccines, and we are almost getting to 80% of these inoculations, and by 28 May we are looking forward to the face covering being dropped, but issues to do with social distancing will remain in effect. So in terms of people going back to their workplaces, especially those who work for the federal or even the states and the local authorities, by 1 July, every worker should be back in their offices to resume their normal activities, like walk-in services that are supposed to be provided to people, and but still issues to do with social distancing will still be observed until this a satisfactory head count, herd immunity has been achieved or realized.
Just for then, Marvelous.
Tombonzwa kubva kwamuri kuti kwakamira sei kwamuri ikoko panyaya yechirwere ichi cheCovid-19. Tinoona kuti dzimwe nzvimbo dzakadai sevana Texas vakawanikwa vachitovhura vachiti ivo kwavo nzvimbo dzavo dzaakuvhurika pari zvino. Kwenyu kwamuri kwakamira sei?
Zvinosiyana nenzvimbo uye neutungamiriri unenge uchiwanikwa panguva iyoyo uye nemunzvimbo idzodzo. So kunoko kuMinnesota kwatiri, gavhena wedu akatipawo zvekare yatingati update maringe nepatava nechirwere kana kuti denda reCovid-19. So musi wa28 May vakatsanangura ivo vachiti zvimwe zvataitarisirwa kunge tichiita zvakafanana nekufamba takapfeka mamaski zvinenge zvakunzi pamutemo hazvichatarisirwi kana kuti hazvichasungirwi kuti munhu wese ari kupinda mumapublic buildings, mungava muzvitoro, mungava muzvipatara, mungava kana kumaoffices ehurumende kana makanzuro nezvimwe zvakadaro, kunge vange vakapfeka tinoti mamaski aya. Asi kana uchida kuramba wakapfeka rinenge rava dunga munhu, but mitemo iripo, ma-regulations aripo izvozvi ndeyekuti by 28 May tinenge takutarisira kuti ma-restrictions iwayo ange adropwa, but iya inonzi social distancing icharamba iripo. Vanhu muchasiya mukaha pakati penyu kana kuri kugara mumaoffices enyu, nekuti tiri kutarisira kuti muna 1 July vashandi vese vehurumende kana kuti vashandi vestate kana kuti vemakanzuru vanenge vakudzokera mabasa mavo, uko mavanenge vakuita kuti vanhu vachiwana mukana wokupinda inonzi in person, kana kuti vanhu vakuchikwanisa kuchishanyira maoffices ehurumende, maoffices emakanzuru kuti vachibatsirwa ikoko, pane zvaiitika kuti vanhu vaibatsirwa online kana kuti kuburikidza nedande mutande. So ndo zviriko kunoku in terms of COVID-19 kana kuti denda rechirwere cheCovid.
Ko panhomba dzinobayiwa dziya, imi makawanikwa muchinobayiwa here? Zvakamira sei? Vari kunyatsopa dzidziso here yekuti nhomba iyi inofamba so yakadai?
Yes, kunoku kuri kupiwa dzidziso yakakwana. Vanhu havasi kumanikidzwa kuti vanobayiwa nhomba, asi dzidziso iripo zvichiburikidza nemunhepfenyuro nemune zvimwewo zvirongwa zvakasiyana siyana, inenge iri kunyatsokukurudzira, inenge ichiratidza vanhu kuti chakanakira kuwana nhomba yeCovid-19 ndei. So update yatakapiwa izvozvi iri kuratidza kuti taakunanavira kusvika mu80% yevanhu vari munomu muMinnesota, kuti vese vari kutarisira kuti ndo tarisiro yaapo right now, kuti ndo nhamba yevanhu vanofanira kunge vava kuwana kana kuti vakawana nhomba iyoyo. And zvekare takatarisana nenhengere nekuti vanhu vari kuzvitora sei. Vanhu vari kuzvifarira, vamwe vari kutora, vamwewo vasiri kunyatsonzwisisa vachakamira kutora nhomba idzodzi, and dziri kuwanikwa zviri nyore. Pane maportals kana kuti nzvimbo dziripo dzekuti unobhuka wotodedzerwa. Mamwe acho atori ma-walk in ekuti unoenda woonzwa kuti pakamira sei. Kana vaine nzvimbo dzinenge dzakazaruka kuti upiwe nhomba idzodzo, unenge uchitopiwa chiripo ripocho.
Right, looking at how things are going here and what you are hearing from home in Zimbabwe, is there any way that you are helping your relatives in terms of, trying to avoid contracting COVID-19?
Yes, because life is very precious, and regardless of them being my relatives or just friends or just anyone else, we have been sharing with people in the small way that we can, in terms of letting people know that this is serious, and we have to avoid, or people just need to avoid contracting this COVID-19. And we have been more like sharing with them information pertaining to the useful of having their mask on, and also ensuring that they maintain social distances, and also that practicing those normal hygiene that we grew up knowing, washing our hands before we partake in any food sharing, or more so right now when you greet somebody, it's very, very difficult within our culture really to wholly suspend handshaking and all that stuff. So we have been advising our friends, our relatives, or even just general people to ensure that they clean their hands, they wash their hands. They can also use the available soap if it means that they cannot afford sanitizers and all that stuff. So we have been engaging and talking to everyone whom we can, given the chance, when we always talk about COVID-19, because it seems COVID-19 is more like the hot topic right now.
Thank you very much, and stay on the line. We also have Mr. Sikumbuzo Mlalazi. Mr. Mlalazi is based in Britain. Mr. Mlalazi, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Due. Good evening, Zimbabwe, and Bukalanga in particular. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, nxasikangela baba, Mlalazi, siyabona COVID is zonke indawo vele singathi ibhokile sibili. singene kulokhu singakangeni kwezombusazwe singathi lapha linelikhona lizivikela njani umkhuhlane lo njalo liyancedisa yini ekhaya ukuthi abanye abantu bazivikele.
Mina ngithanda ukubonga amazwi akhulunywa isikhulumi nje esanda kukhuluma ukuthi knowledge is power. Mina I had my 2 doses of Pfizer vaccine. So I think spreading the knowledge, spreading the word to the people kakhulu abantu bakithi ukuthi now we are living in a new normal. This COVID-19 is here and is here to stay. So we need to be aware ukuthi once the life is lost, it can never be recovered. So ngokubona kwami mina bengithi abantu bakithi kumele bebe nolwazi nalelo ukuthi i-COVID-19 into esizophila nayo and kumele ivikelwe. Kumele sizivikele abantu bakithi bathathe ama-vaccines. The whole world is being vaccinated. So i-Africa kuphela kumelanga ibe isolated from that. Kumele nathi sithole ama-Africans sithi to move with the same pace namanye amazwe abantu bakithi babe vaccinated. So umbuzo uthi wona sibancedisa njani abantu bakithi kukhona ukuthi manje yenza inhlelo ezinje ezifana Studio 7 abantu bakithi bazwe ukuthi kuimportant kangakanani ukuthi sizivikeleni sivikele nama-families ethu. Kodwa manje mina ngihlala kude kangaka abantu bakithi bakwenye indawo masihlangana singekho vaccinated sithola ukuthi esibulalana. So kuhle kakhulu ukuthi the world has to be vaccinated including Zimbabwe.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu. So-ke kodwa kulabanye abalokhu bethandabuza ukuthi amajekiseni lawa bangani bayawesaba kodwa sibonile-ke i-World Health Organization isithi Sinopharm singasetshenziswa emhlabeni wonke jikelele. Kutshoni khonokhu nxa ukhangela ilizwe elinjengeleZimbabwe okade ungani abantu bayethuka ijekiseni le?
I-confidence ukuthi ekakhulu i-message abantu bakhangela ukuthi who is bringing that message to them. So ungananzela kakhulu abantu sebeqine kakhulu kuma-political ideologies nama-political messages that they receive faster nezinto ezingekho relevant ebantwini that people they pick them up kakhulu kunezinto ezi-important like i-health yabantu at the moment. So mina bengithi the message, the proper message khona manje if ma kusenzeka if Zimbabwe is an educated nation ukuthi those people are leading kuma-health ama-health professionals, they should be the one dishing out this message ukuthi this type of a vaccine is safe for everyone, not only Africans, not only Zimbabweans. It's safe. It's being used in a country like vaccines last Zimbabwe and China. They are being used in Arab countries. They are being used elsewhere in the world. So it's not about nobody's going to target us as Zimbabwe. World Health Organization, they are there as the watchdog. These things that are being used in people, they are safe to be used. And abantu bakithi kumele lokunanzela khona ukuthi hayi akuna we are not enemies to anyone. Umkhuhlane lo ukhona and kumele siwuvikele.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu-ke ubambe khona. So Marvelous, what he's saying is that people must get vaccinated. He says he got his 2 shots, so he thinks he did the right thing, Go ahead.
Yes. Tomboenda kuna vasiya mpondo tiri kunzwa apo Zimbabwe parizvino yakanzi iyo neWorld Health Organization vanogona kushandisa Sinopharm seimwe yenhomba dziripo. Imi munoona sei izvi?
Ini ndinoona chiri chiitiko kana kuti mashoko akanakisa nekuti muchaona kuti vanhu vanga vaine kunzwa kana kuti mashoko akasiyana siyana zvichienderana nemushonga kana kuti nhomba yeSinopharm. Panga pasine kujekeswa and vazhinji vanenge vachitya kuti kana mapazi makuru iwaya yakaita World Health Organization kana yakanyarara isina mashoko ayatura maringe nemishonga inenge chinzi ishandiswe kuvanhu, vamwe havaigashiri. Saka mashoko aturwa WHO ndinoona ari mashoko akanaka achaita kuti yatinoti confidence level kana kuti kuvimba nemushonga kana kuti nenhomba iyoyo muvanhu kunge kuchikwirira and kuita kuti vanhu vakawanda vange vachizvipira kunonotora nhomba iyoyo.
Yes, so looking at how you are saying things is that this is building confidence among people, but here in USA we see that there's this kind of resistance towards getting inoculated. How do you get around that?
Yeah, basically, if we look at the situation or the dynamics within the United States, it's mainly because of the ideologies and a widespread of rights issues that we have. So getting around that, I think there is supposed to be a change in terms of the way the information is packaged as well, and the way the conspiracy theories are being debunked, and also the way that those protagonists to these vaccines given ample time in recognized ways that they can be engaged, and also the kind of knowledge that they have, right, can be proven openly without them remaining as conspiracy theories. So I think that engagement with the anti-vaxxers, it's supposed to be very clear and supposed to be very deliberate, because if those people are ignored, if those sources of conspiracy theories is ignored, then certainly we are going to have a certain percentage or a section of our populations not being able or still being circumspect to taking these vaccines.
Yes, marvelous.
Aha. Tombotarisa zvakare tichange tiri kutaura nenyaya yezvematongerwo enyika. Tinoziva imi muri veMDC Alliance. Tiri kunzwa bato reZanu PF richiti iro pane vanhu vekumapato anopikisa akadai serenyu reMDC Alliance neMthwakazi vari kuwanikwa ivo vachisiya bato ravo ravanenge vari vachienda kunojoina ZANU PF. Munoona sei izvi?
Those are wishful thinking. There's no rightfully minded thinking person who can really leave progressive parties to go and join a ruinous party. ZANU PF is not a new creation. ZANU PF has been there since 1979. Since 1980, they've been in power. And they've literally done nothing besides ruining our nation. So for them to pontificate or to come here and pretend as if there are so many people who are leaving their parties to join them, I mean, that's wishful thinking. We know what they are doing. What they are doing is they can go around, bribe one or two there, and parade them as if they are having an influx of supporters from other parties joining them. There's nothing like that. We are only having those greedy persons maybe who would have been bribed to stand as if they are new converts to ZANU PF, but otherwise get it from us. Our political party, in as far as the MDC Alliance is concerned, we are intact. Of course, there are one or two who may be doing so, but what I will tell you is opposition parties, they are having more supporters joining them because ZANU PF is in the business of creating opposition members each and every day as it passes, because life is getting bad and bad as we go.
Thank you very much. Let's get hold of Mr. Joseph Chuma. Mr. Chuma, welcome to the program, sir.
Good evening, David. How are you?
Oh, very fine. How are you?
I could be better, but we are all hopeful and under God's guidance. So, yes, we are okay.
Yes. Now, Mr. Chuma, we see that some members of Mthwakazi Republic Party, MDC Alliance, and others actually defecting and joining ZANU PF. What is going on?
Well, the fundamental principles are about ideology. I've always said that ZANU PF has got sound principles and the ideology is very clear-cut. Yes, I know people would want to criticize our party and paint it whatever color they want to, because of probably some malcontents that can be found within the organization. But the party itself, if you are to be objective and really dig deep and read about it and research about it, you would know the values that it stands for. You would know the principles that actually harness it, and then you would know that it is definitely the party to be at any given time.
Yes, siyabona ke basuka kumabandla atshiyeneyo baba Golide abantu bengena ke kubandla leZanu PF bakhanga uyini ba
umhlangano wethu inhlanganiso yethu eZanu PF imile ngobuqotho isisekelo sephathi yethu isisekelo sobuntu isisekelo sokuncedisa abantu ukubana sithuthuke siphanjaniswa nje izigilamkhuba lezi ezibuyayo zingene ziyenze ubuqhiwi phakathi kodwa ke kungayisikho okumelwa yiphathi yethu eZanu PF. iZanu PF imela ubuhle imela ukulunga imela ukulungisa siphanjaniswa nje ngosathane bona labe ngikhuluma ngabo bakhona batholakala indawo zonke even ungayiqoka uthango uyofika bo-MDC uyabathola MRP uyabathola ungaya kuzapho sibili uyabathola ubathola nje indawo zonke kodwa-ke inhlanganiso yethu yona ngikwayo nxa ithe iyazimela laphana nxa uthi uyabala ingibalo zazo uzazibonela kwethu ukuthi hhayi yiyo kanye iphathi okumele ukuthi ngabe abantu bakiyo.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu ke ubambe khonapho singakayi kuMarvelous uvale ibutton yakho baba Golide uyivale ibutton yakho siye kubaba Gwabalanda usakhona khonapha baba
Tube litshona njani labalaleli bonke labo Marvelous
sitshonile naso ke MRP sebebaleka abantu qhubeka khonapha Gwabalanda ansakuzwa uvala ibutton qhubeka baba. Marvelous, I think we are having a slight problem with Gwabalanda. Gwabalanda, can you hear me? Uyangizwa Gwabalanda?
He might have dropped off.
Yeah, so let's continue. Marvelous. Go ahead. Let's continue.
Kuna vachuma manzi kwazvanga zviri kutaurwa navasi ampondo veMDC Alliance vari kuti zviri kutaurwa neZanu PF ndezvemugodzi matsuro pane vanhu vakabva kumapato avo ivo ndeveMDC Alliance vachienda kubato renyu reZanu PF munoona seizvo?
Ndatenda zvikuru masera sisi wangu kutaura chokwadi chizere bato redu rine gwara rakarongeka gwara rinonyatsooneka gwara rine mupfindo saka kuti munhu abve wotaura kuti ZANU PF haina kumira zvakanaka nekuti taona mukati kune vanhu vasingaite zvinhu nemazvo handizvoba zvinhu zvinoitika bato redu harisi bato rinoita maCV nekuvheta vanhu kuti vajoine musangano tinongotora vanhu vese ndosaka pachirungu ichinzi mass movement handitika mass party saka vanhu vese vanopinda mukati imomo vapinda vozotanga kukanya asi kukanya kwavo hakurebe kuti ndo zvamirira ZANU PF. ZANU PF yakazvimirira yoga ine gwara raro riri very straight forward risingachinje futi and gwara racho iroro nderebundutsu nderokuti munhu wese munhu mutema varungu machina munhu wese ari muno muZimbabwe ogarika zvakanaka tichigara murugare tichigara in development and peace nezvese izvozvo zvinomirira unaku hweupenyu.
Kodwa ke Golide abanye abantu bathi kambe abantu baya ngaphi bengena kubandla abathi lingcolile bayakhuluma abantu be
Mthembu yike ngutshoyo khona ukuthi wona akula mabandla angangcolanga kade sinxa sikhuluma ungakhangela even kweMDC there's a lot of accusations there ungakhangela MRP besizwa kulama accusations uthi awu president wabo kayenzi kuhle sizwile ukuthi yabona ngusecretary general wabo accuse lokho lakithi ngaba uZANU PF bakhona aba-accusayo kuthiwa abangcwele benza so konke lokwana akumelanga ukuthi bese kuthiwa khona amaphathi lawa angcolile. I don't want to believe that MRP ingcolile angifuni ukubelieve ukuthi MDC ingcolile njengakhona ukuthi lami angifuni ukuthi abantu bebelieve ukuthi ZANU PF ingcolile kodwa njengoba ngitshilo ukubuya kwabantu abaningi khona kwana yiko kwenza ukuthi kwesikhathi uthole amahlongandliwa phakathi but ungasiki ukuthi wona yikho okumelelwa libandla lona lelo esabe sikhuluma ngalo at that particular point.
Baba Umlalazi ngena khona baba unmute ibutton yakho ungena ubona njani khona okwenzakala?
Thank you for this opportunity, Baba Duve. Mina, my understanding there are two gentlemen, Konakwa Wishuma Numuyi Omela Ibanda, the MDC. I don't know which MDC was that, but being for fucking message, we talk about Zimbabwe, hear me or not, but I just want to pass one thing. The day they will make sense to me, I'm talking about my opinion. Is the day when I will see their leader, whether it's Chamisa or Mnangagwa, holding hands, that we are Zimbabweans. Because if Piabole is endless, then nobody will win it. And again, the only sense that Zimbabweans are waiting for. Look at Kenya. Uhuru and Raila Odinga, they came up together and hold hands to say, let's build our country together. Africans, let's say in Segisa, because we are following people, our phone team cover with this was Kukumai. Look at London, MDC, I'll do better, Mina, to me, I want to use this harsh word. This is nonsense. You know, we need to start thinking again. The Zimbabweans, we are Africans united against the into Efupaban. We got HIV, we got COVID, we got serious things that Zimbabwe is united against. But the world is uniting against COVID-19. Now Zimbabwe is gearing for 2023 elections, and you are going to have people saying, hey, my party is going to do this. To me, I think all that is rubbish. Chamisa and Mnangagwa, just hold your hands together and build Zimbabwe. Once your rallies are finished, they go in the same combis, they go in the same buses, same trains, going to the same shops, going to the same toilets. But you are trying to divide people for their own benefit. None in abandoned criminal parties, especially the person who thinks some leaders are going to change Zimbabwe. It's enough. Zimbabweans are suffering, living in other people's world where people are united. Look where you are, wherever you are coming from. Look at the countries, the leaders, they are uniting to fight poverty. And you are dividing people on your party cards. So, I'm a party political leaders. They should now come together in 2023 and make one Zimbabwe.
Yes, Marvelous, can you chip in there?
Apo muri kunzwa vasiya mpondo zviri kutaurwa negest yedu vari panapa, munoti nezvavari kutaura, vari kuti zvakanaka kuti vachamisa vanova ivo vanenge vane bato yatingati bato rakati kurei reMDC Alliance, naivo vaMnangagwa tungamiri wenyika vabatani kuitira kuti vanhu vasarambe vachinonga svosve nemuromo. Munoona seizvo?
Ya mashoko ekubatana chinhu chakanaka, ende mukatarisa kubvira isusu sebato reMDC Alliance, chimwe chezvinangwa chedu chatakaisa chiri pamberi pedu chezvisungo zvatinazvo ndechekuda kubatanidza mhuri yeZimbabwe senyika. So handione paine chinhu chakashata kuri kunzi vaMnangagwa vakutenda kuita zvinhu zvakanaka, havacharova vanhu, havachaponda vanhu, and corruption inenge ichiti iri kuitika mukati menyika izvezvi vakaimisa, ndofunga tingatoshanda nawo zvakanaka, because izvozvo ndo zvandatsanangura pamusoro apa ndo zvinoita kuti kubatana kwedu nebato ravaMnangagwa kunge kuchinetsa, nekuti isusu takamirira kuti tirwise corruption kana tuhumbavha neuori huri kuitika mukati menyika yeZimbabwe, nekuti umbavha neuori ndo watisvitsa pano pekuti vanhu vakununga svosve nemuromo, and isusu hatiwirirani nekumbunyikidza kodzero dzavanhu. Saka mukatarisa kutonga kwaMnangagwa kuzere kumbunyikidza, kuponda, kuisa vanhu mumajeri nekuti vanenge vataura zvinoenderana nekodzero dzavo. Izvozvo ndo zvinotipa kuti kushanda kwedu navaMnangagwa kunge kuchinetsa, asi kuri kunzi zvese izvozvo zvabviswa zvabva, muchaona kuti tinoshanda navo zvakanaka zvisina kana problem, nekuti ipapapa ndo pane kakusawirirana kwedu.
So, yes, so what's the way forward in terms of some of these things that we are raising, Mr. Siampondo?
The way forward is the government and Zanu PF should introspect, make sure that they genuinely work against the pandemic, this corruption pandemic, which is crippling the nation. We do not subscribe to human rights violations, and they have to stop forthwith with their bad track record of human rights violations for us to genuinely work with them. In as far as they are right now, I don't think we can have a template where we can sit down and work with them in a harmonious way. There's no way that we are going to join hands with someone who's butchering people, with someone who's needlessly imprisoning people. That one is that's a situation that we are going to fight till our last drop of blood.
Mr. Chuma, can you respond to that?
Thank you very much. The previous speaker before this one actually articulated issues in a very somber and proper way to say that we need unity, and unity is very important. And hence, you remember that our president offered that characteristic way back in 2018 after the election to say, let's come together, let's work together. Being opposition does not necessarily mean that you must be fighting or killing each other. It simply means that you must be coming up with checks and balances of a system that could be put in place by the governing party and the government at that time. So what is important here is not to want to be a witty player in this field and always want to sort of point your fingers to other people. Because like I said, this corruption issue that we are talking about is not going to be finished by Mnangagwa or Chamisa. It is going to be finished by all of us as Zimbabweans, because it happens mostly outside those two offices. It will not be happening in Chamisa's office or the president's office. It happens with us, the civil servants, the ordinary people, coming together and actually planning and executing the corrupt activities that we're talking about. So it's a bigger picture. It's a picture of saying, as Zimbabweans, what are we doing? Are we getting into that developmental gear instead of always remaining in the political sort of mood, and we're always aggressive, we are so intolerant, we don't want to listen to each other. Raila Odinga and Kenyatta, when they came together, it was a matter of saying that they were agreeing in principle that let's stop blaming each other. Let us stop. I don't want to hear my brother always wanting to blame my President Mnangagwa, as much as he must not want to hear me always blaming his party president Chamisa. Let's come together as brothers, as sisters, as Zimbabweans, and say, let's move forward together and know that there's a season for elections and campaigning, and then there must be a season definitely for building our country, for building our economy, and that calls for everybody to come together on that table of building, and then we can start from there. But as long as we want to blame each other and point fingers at each other, we'll probably never achieve what we are talking about now.
Yes, so I heard the MTC Alliance representative here saying that they are concerned about corruption, they are concerned about human rights violations, the incarceration of opponents of the government. So those issues have not been addressed, Mr. Chuma. And how then do you move forward?
Right. The issue of corruption, like I'm saying, is never going to be in one office, like maybe the president's office or Chamisa's office. The issue of corruption, like I said, emanates from all of us. And we need to come together, all of us, and say, let us not allow that. Do not be one to be seen taking money and bribing a police officer at that roadblock. Do not be one to be seen bribing a passport officer. Instead, you must be the one to be seen exposing that policeman who wants to solicit money from you at a roadblock, or a passport officer who wants to solicit money for you to be able to be saved and get a document that is within your constitutional right. So when we start doing that, we cascade and come up, and then we can stop that. So the issue of corruption needs everybody. I've read about issues in MDC being corrupt here, being corrupt there, and stuff like that. And we've read about the same issues in Zanu PF. So what we're saying is that let people start coming up together. And then when you talk about incarceration, it's a very simple matter that we've even discussed on this platform before. I've always said that, for example, this young man who's now in prison, he went to Impala car rentals, and he put his own padlock and chain there. That is no longer activism. That is now criminal, because you are denying someone else's right to be working there and be free to come out and go in as they please. And so when the long arm of the law comes and catches up with you in that kind of scenario, it ceases being a political issue, but it becomes a criminal issue. And like when the Mthwakazi fellas went to Central Police Station and they started burning tires there and throwing stones, it this is being an activism issue, an issue about the white farmer in Tabazinduna, it becomes criminal now because, like I said, I actually had an experience of one person who had their windscreen battered on that same day during that semi-riot, you see? So it becomes criminal. So now, what are we saying? In one point, we're saying, let's observe the rule of law. Then in the other point, we're saying, no, when such things happen, we must not charge these people because they are activists or they are from a political party X. It doesn't make sense at all. So it's all about saying, while you do your activism, do it peacefully and correctly and within the bounds and confines of your, of your constitution and the law.
Thank you.
Once you overstep it, something is going to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Chuma. I think Marvelous, we can chip in there because Mr. Chuma is raising very interesting points there.
Vasiyampondo manzi kwazvanga zviri kutaurwa navachuma munoti vari kutaura ivo kuti zvakawanda zvinogona kunge zvichigadziriswa pari zvino imi munoti
right. Inini chandiri kuda kungoyeuchidza vachuma kuti we are not blaming anyone, but we are simply stating a fact. Tingotaura sezvazviri. Mukatarisa izvezvi bazi re-anti-corruption rinonzi iro rino-operate kana kuti rinoshanda riri under the president's office. So kana pasina kusungwa kunenge kuchiitwa vanhu vari corrupt, hatingangoramba tichingoti muZimbabwe mune huori, muZimbabwe mune huori. Tese inini navachuma tiri kubvumirana kuti muZimbabwe mune huori. Asi hatina kana mumwe chete watati taona asungwa maringe nenyaya yehuori. Ivo vari kuti kuMDC kune vanhu vane huori, kuZanu kune vanhu vane huori. Asi apa tiri kuona vacho vanofera feta nyaya dzine chekuita nehuori vachishanda vari pasi pedepartment rinowanikwa riri muofisi yemutungamiriri wenyika. Asi hapana kana mumwe chete anenge akasungwa nehuori. So ndo zvatiri kuti isusu pari kuleka what we call a political will to address zvinhu zvine chekuita necorruption. So zvinotoreva panapa ndezvokuti tugunwe tunonongedza kupi? Tunonongedza muhofisi macho imomo mune vanhu vari kushanda maringe nehuori. So it's not a blame game, it's not something to tarnish anyone, but tiri kuti anti-corruption ngaiite basa rayo nemazvo. Kana vatanga kuita basa rayo nemazvo zveshuwa muchaona kuti tese tichauchira maoko panenge pabatwa munhu ane huori. Izvezvi tine vanhu munhu akabatwa ari kuSouth Africa negold isingaverengeki $780,000. Izvezvi mukati tikatora mari iyoyo tikaiisa papari renyatwa munoona kuti inochinja zvakawanda. Asi tiringoramba tichingoti mune huori, hapana munhu ari kusungwa, mune huori. Izvezvi apapa iyeye abatwa negold iroro ari kuitwa sei? Hapana, muchamunzwa in 2-3 days anenge akufamba ari mustreet. So it's not a blame game, but we are merely stating a fact. The president's office should give that political will to start arresting people. I wouldn't mind if they are going to arrest a member of the MDC alliance who has been proven beyond doubt that he is corrupt. Go and arrest him. Get everyone who's corrupt, regardless of his political creed or affiliation. That person should be behind bars. That's all we are talking about. And if you don't do that, then certainly we are going to blame you because corruption is bleeding us. We are not moving forward as a country because of these corrupt tendencies. Then let me also hasten to address the issue of political incarcerations. So he tried more like to heap all those blames on the issue Zana Makomborero kuti vakanosvika vakanonoloka pa Impala. He should vachuma ngavazvizive kuti Impala yakasupply a vehicle yakashandiswa kuno abducta munhu. And Impala is not providing evidence to that effect because there is no contention whatsoever with motor Impala. So if you want to tell me that the act done by Impala to supply a vehicle that went to abduct someone and that particular person nearly get killed did a lesser offense than Makomborero, who took just a small chain that could be broken by hand just to symbolize the locking and shutting down of a wayward company, then really we are having a problem in Zimbabweans. That is the selective application of law that we are against as Zimbabweans. Impala car rentals should face their side of the story. They should also pay compensation of or reparations to what has been went through or the challenges that young men went through. So basically, if we are going to heap all the blame on someone who was protesting in a wayward behavior by a company, then really we have lost the soul of our nation as Zimbabwean people.
Yes, it seems we have got a slight stallment.
Sorry,
Yes.
sorry,
Yeah, quiet. Babuchuma, briefly, yes.
Thank you very much. I wanted to put in different zvakanaka nemukoma vangu ava kuti impala is a car hire. Zvinoreva nezvokuti kana munhu chaiye anobva kupi anongosvika opinda ohaya motikari, kana ahaya motikari yaenda kunopara mhosva, haisiri nyaya yonzi nawo makupa haunge makushungudza impala, because impala mufundisi chaiye anogona kuenda kunohaya motikari, mbavha inogona kunohaya futi motikari ipo paya. Saka zvazvaifanira kuita paifanira kuti kuferefete zvakanaka kuti kutsvaga kuti motikari yakahayiwa nani, munhu uya aifanira kutsvagwa, haikona impala. Impala is an independent company iri kungoprovida service yekuhaya motikari idzodzo. Saka ndo zvinhu zvatifanira kuti tinzwisise ipapo. Ndosaka ndati nini, now there was a criminal activity when that person went and logged against impala, because impala haisarudze kuti yahaisani, chainoda chete ilicense yako nemari yako wokuhaisira motikari. Zvaunozoita nayo uko kunze uko zvazvinofu. Saka ndosaka ndati paka pasina kuita rationale ipo paya kuti konoatakwa impala as a company which has outcasts to anybody. And even panyaya ndodzokera panyaya yecorruption here, ndosaka ndati nini, chinonetsa ndechokuti even vanhu vacho vakabahwa kana vabatwa, mapurisa aita basa ravo votanga kuinvestigata, but corruption haitwe nemunhu one, inowanzoitwa nevanhu 2 or more. Handitika ipo paya kozoshawa evidence. Saka totora munhu nehiyese here tomukandira mujere what. Ndosaka ndati nini, basa rava kuneni kuti tiuye nezvinhu zvakadaro tichibudisa maevidence iwawo kuti aiwa munhu aita so kunyatsobatika kuti, because the law operates that, the law is in S. It operates that straight kuti toda evidence. Saka kana kuna umbowo iwo toibata sei nyaya yacho. Ndozvandachitaura kuti hazvisi muofisi yapresident, hazvisi muofisi yachamisa, asi zviri kwatiri tese semazimbabweans kuti tipedze uhori iwowo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chuma. Stay on the line. We've got Miss Vivian Nomalanga Pepe. Welcome to the program, Mapepe.
Hello.
Yeah, akusitshele siyabona kulabantu abadefectayo lapha abasuka ku-MRP abaye ku-MDC Alliance bengena kubandla le-Zanu PF. Kwenziwa kuyini khonokho?
Abantu manje babadube i-politics yeZimbabwe manje isingeyesisu. Abantu abaningi baphethwe yindlala. So abantu abaningi baqala amaphathi lawa kumbe bajoyina amaphathi lawa, umuntu efuna ukubona ukuthi kuyadleka yini ngale, makungadlekanga umuntu usephuma. Ngoba esikhathini esiningi bathi kuyadleka kuZanu ukudlula la amanye amaphathi. The other day ngangibukela uChiwenga. No, what's this man by the way? Ekhuluma ngokuthi ma ungekho kuZanu ngeke wenze imali eZimbabwe. You understand? So yibuthengisi yinto nale abantu okumele beyinanzelele ukuthi these days ungathathi umuntu okupolitics umthathe ukuthi uyoyisavior maybe uzolikhulula. Laba abantu bangenela indlala, bangenela ama-connections. So akulanto abayingenelayo vele lapha nabayiphikisayo kuZanu, ngoba at the end of the day right now i-politics yeZimbabwe senza into efanayo sonke. Yikho ngangikutsho even besithi umakhuphe wathi ungenele ukudla imali, ngathi kubi because umakhuphe yena ukhulume waphumisela, but eqinisweni wonke umuntu okupolitics, if not i-Africa, iZimbabwe especially, bangenela ukudla. Yinto egcina baxotsha bengabona ukuthi isandla sakhe asifikeleli lapho kule mali khona, then sebedefecta ke.
So kulabanye abantu bekhuluma lapha-ke Mapepe ukuthi into engenza eleZimbabwe liye phambili yikubambana. Ngabe kukhona ukuthi kungabambana abantu bebambane kube njalo nje?
Thina vele right now babudube, mina I think into esiyidingayo khathesi ukuthi okokubambana mbona ukuthi kungasisebenzela. I think right now into esiyidingayo ukuthi sizimele kunje thina abantu emathebheleleni. Angitsho ukuthi ilizwe liqunywe, hayi, and abantu emaraphini ngiyabazi abanye bahleli amakhanda ebhoyila, but angitsho ukuthi ngiphikisana lento abayitshoyo, but angitshoyo ukuthi angiboni ukuthi lento yokuthi ilizwe liqunywe yinto ezosebenza. Yasikule enye into othi lawe noma uyibhekile uyibona ukuthi le as much as singafisa but ngeke iphumelele. But mina ngibona ngathi kubalulekile ukuthi akwenziwe khonokho kwenziwe eSouth Africa ukuthi province le province izikhangelela indaba zayo. Yinto esiyidinga right now eZimbabwe. Abemathebheleleni abakhangela into zabo emathebheleleni. Lento yokumixa
Evolution.
Lento yokumixa babudukele ukuthi kuthiwe umuntu weHarare uzoba le-best interest zabantu beBulawayo akusoze kusisebenzele. Right now sidinga ukuthi uDube kabhekane labantu bakoDube, maybe labakoMpofu labakobani, kube yikho khona lokho. Singayebhinga kuthathwe umuntu webhinga abe nguye okhangela into zakibo, ngoba yinto esixabanisa yona le right now.
Yes, siyakuzwa Mabhebhe, sicela ubambe khonapho ungayikatshana. So Marvelous, what she's saying is, this issue of unity is a little bit utopian, can't work. He says Marvelous should take care of her region where she is in a devolution, some kind of framework of being devolved, like a state where it's sort of like federated. Use the resources where you are and do what you can with those resources, instead of having somebody from Harare overseeing what is happening in in Bulawayo. She says that's impossible. So maybe we can go back to Mr. Skubuzo Mlalazi. He started this saying that what is needed is unity. Go ahead, maybe you can talk to him.
Tanga tiri kunzwa munyarikani wedu vanga vari kutaura ivo pamusoro pezvavari kuti aiwa zvakanaka kuti vanhu vati vanhu vabatane, asi dzimwe dzenguva chikuru ndechekuti tiwane isusu vanhu vanobva munzvimbo vachiitwa mabasa munzvimbo iyoyo, kwete kuti tione kuti pana kanzura wekubulawayo asari anobva kuHarare. Saka vanenge vachiti vana vemo ngavaitewo mabasa imomo. Regai tiende kuna vaMulalazi. What do you think of what our guest just said? That's fair. Taurisai, yes.
My brother, Dube asked the question to say what's the way forward. But he's just explaining what Zanu PF has done and government has done. The way forward is not about what people are doing now and what has been done before. The way forward is a solution to the problems that we are having, but nobody's touching that. The only solution is for us as Black people. Baba, if you ask the question why were blacks only the race what it was made slaves, I think this justifies it. We think fighting will bring us anything or a solution to our problems. I think if you look at history on its own, African history, even the founding fathers of Africa, the people that fought for freedom, they wanted Africa to be united. So now with these political parties, majority of us, we are being sponsored by foreigners. We look at things that are happening to countries that are oppressing us, and then we think that a black man is worse than any other race. I think it's an embarrassment, especially for a party. Maybe if you form a party, any political party, over 10 years of taking same strategy, nothing comes out of it. Same thing in different results. I think it's a waste of time. It's a waste of space. Let's see a little country called Zimbabwe. It's for Zimbabwe and for black people. We need to come back together. Don't look at people using their languages. Shona or Ndebele, those are just languages. But we came from one folder, which is a black blood. So about Myanmar, these political parties were preaching a division among people. After 1980, this was the problem. People started fighting tribal wars, which nobody benefited out of that. So we cannot continue with such behavior as Zimbabweans and expect it to be respected by any person in the world. If you look at our opposition parties in Zimbabwe, no African country is recognizing them. For the sake of they are not united on themselves. So how can they be an option to the problems that are faced by the people of Zimbabwe? So we need to about for to allow our political leaders, guys, let's smell our armpits and be human enough and be united. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe now we are about to conclude our show. Marvelous, maybe 30 seconds with Siampondo and then the same with Chuma and others. So go ahead, Marvelous.
Manzwa zvanga zviri kutaurwa navamulalazi munotii nazvo vari kuti ivo imi vemapato anopikisa ndimi muri kuita kuti vanhu vasabatane zvakanaka.
Vangadaro vachitaura zvavo chokwadi kuti pane zvimwewo zvinenge zvichiitika nekuzodhonzerana kunobuda kuburikidza nokuti munhu uri webato ripi. Asi ini ndiri kuda kuti ndiwirirane nepfungwa yavo yokuti kubatana chinhu chakanaka, and ndichizoenderawo pamberi zvekare nchiti kubatana mune zvinhu zvakashata chinhu chinenge chisina kunaka. So patinenge tichibatana apa tinofanira kunge tine template rinotaura iro kana tinoratidza kuti tiri kubatana mune zvakanaka zvinoita kuti nyika iende kumberi. And ndichada kuti ndiwiriranewo zvakare nehanzvadzi yangu yabva kunonotaura Bebe kuti chiri kudiwa right now devolution kana kuti kuzvimirira kuzere kwematunhu, kuti tiri kuda kuti maresources anenge achiwanikwa munzvimbo yeMatabeleland, munzvimbo yeMidlands, munzvimbo yeMashwest ange ari maresources anenge achibatsira vagari vemo kuti vange vachivandudza upenyu hwavo. So izvozvo ndo zviri kunetsa pari zvino kuti panenge pari kuita yatinoti marginalization of other areas, and especially my areas anenge aine minority languages and minority tribes. So devolution dai yanga yachipiwa mukana zvizere ndofunga zvinotibatsira mukuvandudza kugara kwevanhu vedu.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chuma, your last word. Go ahead, Mr. Chuma, your last word. So I think Mr. Chuma's phone is actually dropped off. So so now maybe Mr. Siampondo, you can say the same in English. Just less than a minute. Go ahead.
So I would want to agree with Mr. Chuma in terms of Mr. Mlalazi, and also Mr. Chuma in terms of the need for unity. We are supposed to be a united people, but our unity should be predicated on positive things, a template that is going to be helpful to our people. I would detest a unity that is contrary or that is negative to the well-being of Zimbabweans. Unity out of greed, I don't think it will take us the long distance that we want. And I would also want to end up by agreeing with my sister Bebe for the need for devolution. We need resources in respective provinces to be beneficial to people who stay within those areas. So thank you very much on that.
Thank you so much. Maybe Sibize Pepe, just 30 seconds. Pepe is absolutely uvale khonapho ngamafitshane sibili. 30 seconds mama. Qeda khonapho.
Ngifuna ukuphendula ubaba uMlalazi lapho into ayikhulumileyo. Mina bengikhulumiswa ukuthi uyabona eSouth Africa ungeke uye eNatal ufike ukhulumiswe ngumuntu ongumvenda. Awusoze uye eLimpopo ukhulumiswe ngumZulu. Awungeke uye le esayidini lamaTswana ufike ukhulumiswe khona ngale ngumvenda ngumZulu. So leyo nto leyo babe lesizathu why kwaba njalo. Hayi ukuthi i-tribalism ayingeni indawo lapho, but kubalulekile ukuthi abantu labantu ngendawo bazikhangelele umnotho wabo, bazikhangelele indawo zakubo, ngoba mina ingakithi ngiyazi ngcono ukudlula umuntu wangaphandle. Into engayi
siyabonga kakhulu Mapepe, ungathini kusasa. Sorry, we're out of time. We have to leave it here. We thank our guests this evening, Mr. Joseph Chuma of Zanu PF, Mr. Skumbuzo Mlalazi, who is an independent person, he does what he likes. And then we've got Mr. Nkululeko Kobalanda Mate of MRP, and Mr. David Siampondo, MTC Alliance, and Miss Vivian Nomalanga Pepe. Signing off from Maryland, this is Gibbs Dube saying good night, Zimbabwe.
I'm Marvelous Mhlanga. We are saying let's meet tomorrow on Let's Talk. Have a very good evening.
Bye-bye.